Hello, everyone. This is your screencast for our lesson on trait theories. Just a little bit of a review. This is a pretty quick, easy lesson. So, is personality temporary or consistent? Well, as you know what the definition is, you better tell me that it is consistent. And there we go. Does the Barnum effect help or hurt validity? You should be very, energetically telling me it hurts validity because it's so general, it applies to everyone. What type of measurement, objective or projective, did both the psychoanalytic folks and the humanistic folks use? And the correct answer is the very open-ended projective. What do all these psychoanalytic theorists have in common? So we're talking Freud, Jung, Horney, and Adler. Hopefully you can tell me they all believe that personality has some component of an unconscious as well as childhood events impacting you. What do all the humanistic theorists have in common? Well, they believe that, that support. If you can be supported, that person, even though they have free will, they are much likely to reach their potential. Today, we're going to talk about trait theory. So hopefully you have a different color of highlighter, and in your binder, I would highlight trait theories. And we're only going to look at one. That would be the big 5 factor. And so that would obviously be a big thing to highlight as well. But trait theories are different because they don't really care about your childhood or about your support. In fact, they just say that your personality is consistent with patterns of behavior, and it comes from birth. And it's going to be consistent across situations. So if you're an extrovert, you're always going to be an extrovert. That's what they would say. These types of theories do try to just categorize traits. So because they're trying to put people into categories, they use objective measurements. Just pretty bing, bam, boom is all there. And so does that make it, since it's from birth, nature, or nurture? Yes, you should be telling me that's nature. And just a look at a few of the early trait theories. You don't need to know these, okay? But just to see where we're coming from. This all started with a man named Gordon Allport, who went to visit Sigmund Freud and was so turned off, I guess you could say, by Freud's ideas that he's like, oh, phooey on this. This is just malarkey. And so I don't care about your childhood. I'm just going to say you are what you are, and here's the categories. So they started trying to come up with categories, and they really found a lot of them. So they went to use the continuum process like we've been doing this unit. And again, there was a lot that were out there that weren't exactly scientific. What you're seeing here on the right side of your screen here is probably introvert and extrovert. You've heard of those before, but now we're crossing those with being emotionally stable and unstable. And so they put you into one of these categories. Back in the time of the Greeks, you were melancholic, choleric, sanguine, or phlegmatic, which basically they called the theory of the 4 humors, and that was all about body fluids. So, not real scientific, not real scientific. Lots of self-reporting with this. And so whenever you do a self-report, it's not, or it shouldn't be, a surprise that, hey, this is exactly what I thought I was. Well, duh, you're the one who filled out the report. They're really not found to be reliable. It can change with your mood. And if a test is not reliable, then there's no way it can be valid. So a lot of these trait theories were interesting, but they just were not valid. So that brings us to one that actually is valid and reliable. There's a lot of empirical support. For those of you who are in a statistic class, you've probably heard of meta-analysis. But we have a lot of evidence, results that have been done, not just people's opinions, on these trait dimensions. And in your reading, they talk about the acronym CANOE. And so we're just going to talk about these just real briefly. But remember, each one of these can be on a continuum. It's not an either or. And so the way I have this set up in your notes, we've got the high side on the left and the low side on the right. We'll talk a little bit when it comes to neuroticism. Narcissism is the next unit. So conscientiousness. Okay. We like to say that people who are conscientious dot their I's and cross their T's. They're highly organized. They're really careful. They're very disciplined. Okay. That's the high end. The low end, disorganized, careless, and impulsive. So remember, when we have high versus low, most of us are going to be in the middle somewhere. There's times when we're really organized. There's times when we're really not. That's okay. Oh, I forgot to mention, with each of these 5 dimensions, you can be high or low in any one of them. You don't have to be consistent through all of them. Okay, so agreeableness is the next one. People who are agreeable, they're soft-hearted, they're trusting, they're helpful. They want to be there for other people. They are agreeable to other people's ideas. On the low end, we've got people that are ruthless, they're suspicious, and they're uncooperative. Sometimes just because, you say one thing, they want to say the other. I just don't want to agree with you. Okay, so there is score on the low end of agreeableness. Okay, now neuroticism. This was kind of weird. I tried to explain it at the bottom of your binder page, but neuroticism, if it's high end, okay, of neuroticism, which was actually on the right side of your chart. If you're high in neuroticism, it's called emotional instability. And so these are people with a lot of anxiety, a lot of insecurity, and a lot of self-pity. So that's on the high end of neuroticism. Okay. On the low end of neuroticism, we have emotionally stable. These individuals are calm, they're secure, and they're self-satisfied. Okay. Again, you're going to see that go from, from the high end to the low end. Openness. Someone who's open, it's not like they post everything about their life. No, that's not it. That's not what we're talking about. People who are open are imaginative. They prefer variety, and they're pretty independent. Like if you say, oh, let's go to whatever restaurant, and they're like, oh, we went there last week. If you want to go, that's fine, but I'm going to do my own thing. That's someone who's high in openness. Okay. Someone who's low in openness, they are very practical. They're going to prefer a routine, and they're going to be fairly conforming because it's just easier for them to conform than to have to, think of something and be imaginative. Okay. And lastly, we have extroversion, which is, again, one of those traits that we see in so many theories, and that's okay. Social, people who are extroverted, social. And here's something that doesn't really talk about in the reading, but someone who's extroverted, they really get their energy from other people. They feed off being around other people. They tend to be affectionate and fun-loving if you're high in extroversion. If you're low in extroversion, also called an introvert, then you're more reserved, okay? You prefer solitude. Just get taxed out from other people. You get tired. Like being around a lot of people for a long time really just drains you. And so again, most of us are going to be right there in the middle. So that's it. Just the one theory, easy peasy. Now I'm going to put you to work. You need to go to Schoology. You're going to practices in 4.5. So you make sure that you complete the task and deadlines. You've got some review over defense mechanisms, just because that's one that needs to be reviewed. There's a couple other things in there as well. I just cut it off. We're going to have an inventory where you're going to see where you rate in these 5 categories of canoe. And you also have a my words are not working today, discussion board. to fill out. So again, those are not going to take you very long at all. And the last thing you need to do that needs to be completed when you arrive in class is our next lesson. In fact, our last lesson, our last content for this unit is sociocognitive theories. So you're going to take notes on binders pages 9 and 10. And that's what we'll be working with our next class time. So try your best, don't have regrets, and I'll see you soon.